for coming today. I have to tell you, it's certainly an honor to be graced by all these important people, and so I appreciate that a lot. So Tony and I, we've been in business since 1997, all sorts of businesses. We only like to talk about the ones that worked. So that's what's going to happen. But so if there's one thing that we've discovered, and that is that the entrepreneur is truly the lifeblood of the United States. But it's not just like the single individual entrepreneur. The true machine, the true atlas that makes our free market system work is the entrepreneurial company. So with that in mind, hopefully you agree with me, I want to share with you my absolute hands-down favorite quote from Theodore Roosevelt. He spoke these words on April 23rd, 1910. "It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the company who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strive valiantly, who err and come up short again and again, but who know the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spend themselves for a worthy cause, who at best know in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if they fail, at least they fail while daring greatly, so that their place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat." So as we gather here, obviously we're celebrating a building, a structure, but I want everyone to know that this business is not this building. This business is the 150 plus souls who share common values, a common bond, and a common mission. So with that, I'd like to introduce our first guest speaker. Since 1997, Craig Sadonikow has been the president of American Construction Services and American Architectural in West Bend. Craig is a past board member for The Threshold, Boys and Girls Club of Washington County, West Bend Athletic Association, West Bend Waterways Foundation, West Bend Public Schools Foundation, Kettle Moraine YMCA, Eisenbaum Marathon Executive Committee, and Citizens Facility Advisory Committee of West Bend. Holy cow. That's impressive. He is a 1998 graduate of the Chamber of Commerce Leadership Greater West Bend program. He's currently a board member for the West Bend Economic Development Corporation and the West Bend Area Chamber of Commerce. Craig and his wife Jo have 4 daughters. He enjoys spending time with his wife and children, hunting, triathlons, and playing an occasional round of golf. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to the stage my good friend and the mayor of West Bend, Craig Sadonikow.
Didn't have to raise the microphone there. Thank you, Tim. Welcome and congratulations to all of you. Senator, welcome back to West Bend. It's always a great day when you're in town. Keep fighting the fight. We appreciate it. We're paying attention here in West Bend. Does anyone feel like we've got a bit of deja vu going on in the room right now? It does to me a little, because it seems like yesterday many of us gathered for your last new facility. And I know it was only 2-3 years ago, but time flies, so it's great to be back here. This community is truly blessed. Thank you to the organization for choosing to do business in West Bend, and believe me, those of us at City Hall know that you have choices of where to be. We appreciate you choosing to call West Bend your home. Your growth here certainly has been remarkable, thanks to your organization, to your leadership team, and to Tim and Tani and their entire family. I met Tim, and I told him a little earlier I thought today was supposed to be a roast, so that's not exactly what this is going to be, but I met Tim about 20 years ago. When we were younger, Tim looked exactly the same as he does now, and I had a lot more hair. But we were changing out garbages at the Rotary Seafood Fest, and for a number of years there, I would say that we were acquaintances, until a few years ago, we became what I consider now, as Tim mentioned, I feel as though we are good friends. He's a trusted advisor of mine, even though most times I don't think he knows I'm pimping him for information and for what to do next. So I certainly appreciate that. And I gave a little bit of background as a lead-in to probably the most obvious things that I could say to this group. And that is, Tim's a pretty impressive guy. He's a pretty inspirational guy and a pretty motivational guy, right? It seems pretty apparent, pretty obvious. I like to, try to find out, partially because I'm working on becoming a better listener. I think my wife who's here will acknowledge that it's a work in progress. But I like to try and find out what impresses an impressive person, what motivates someone who's motivational, and what inspires the inspirational. So in advance of speaking today, I've done a little bit of recon on Tim the last couple times that we've been out together, sharing a few beers. I tried to loosen him up, find out a little about what makes him tick so I could report that back to all of you today. So his answer to all three of those questions, what inspires him, what motivates him, what is inspirational to him, very simple, very poignant, and it's the 150 people that are inside of this building. He said without pausing that he's impressed by how you and your coworkers do your jobs. He's inspired by your passion for the corporate mission, and he's motivated to bring new ideas, new challenges to tackle, and new missions to undertake here. So what keeps Tim sharp and excited about the future is all of you inside this building. You being you allows Tim and the leadership team to be themselves. I also asked Tim, after a couple more beers, what may make him a little nervous or a little apprehensive. And I found out a few things that don't make him nervous. He's not necessarily nervous about growing the organization. He's not necessarily apprehensive on trying to figure out ways to uncover the next way that you guys can all fight for the Constitution and fight to expand liberty in our country. And he's not skittish about trying to figure out how to work with, while sometimes competing against, an organization like the NRA. None of those things faze him. What does make him a little nervous, aside probably from me dragging this out and finding out what makes him nervous, what it is are the days that he knows he's coming into work to work the phones. He's nervous because he knows it's pretty difficult to compete with all of you, to compete with the best of the best, to compete with the 4 or 5 or 8 or 10 video screens that are grading and judging and making sure every day that each one of you is servicing your customer the best way that they can. So he said a lot that night, and I took it to heart. So finally, from my perspective, a few observations as mayor. Having witnessed your growth these last handful of years, after getting to know several of you personally, and then after having a tour around this facility yesterday and meeting quite a few more of you, I found out that as an organization, you guys are a little strange. You come here out of passion, right? You're different from most folks. You come here out of passion, you work 8 or 10 or 12 hours a day. Some of you are working weekends, some of you are working a night shift or a split shift, some of you are all coming in here on Thursday mornings for the meeting. You perform your work not just for a paycheck, but because you truly believe in what you do. And that is pretty unique and strange and weird and awesome, all rolled into one. After all of that, after the 8 or 10 or 12 hours, after all the motivation and all the phone calls and the marketing and the finances and legal and creative thinking, you're not like most regular people because you don't go home at the end of the day. You go out into this community and you donate and you dedicate your time and your energy and your talents and in many, many cases your finances to virtually every nonprofit organization, every fundraising opportunity or entity, and every community need that we have. Your work for the community does not end at the end of your work shift, and it certainly doesn't end at the front door. So on behalf of a grateful city and a grateful nation, thank you to all of you. Thanks to the folks that I know are in the building working right now. Thanks to the leadership team, Tim and Tani, thank you. Have a great afternoon.